Bodybuilding.com. Hey everyone, greetings from Boise, Idaho, and welcome to the Bodybuilding.com podcast. I'm Nick Coleus, an editor at Bodybuilding.com. Our normal co-host, Heather Eastman, is off gallivanting in Barcelona, is not with us today, but we have three guests in her absence. Branch Warren and his quads are here. Branch needs no introduction. He's an IFBB pro bodybuilder, two-time Arnold Classic winner, been in the top 6 at the Olympia more times than we can even need to mention. Nobody works harder than the Texas Rattlesnake, we all know that. And nobody comes in quite conditioned like you still look. I was looking at Instagram, I'm like, what year is this? Looks exactly the same. So Branch Warren, thanks for coming.
Thank you, glad to be here.
Also the only bodybuilder to my knowledge to be a regular on a hunting show. He looks like he may have just been on a hunting show like 10 minutes ago. And you're here.
Just the BB.com gym.
Yeah, exactly. But looking at reading about you, you've been at this so long. It's kind of a surprise to me. You're still only 42 damn years old, right? Still in your competitive age range for high level bodybuilding, and it blows me away to think. I saw this picture of you on your Instagram. It was 25 years ago, more than 25 years ago. You're 17 years old at the Lila Brada Classic. It made me realize, you've been doing this. You've been doing this a long time.
I paid my dues.
Yeah.
So I remember that picture. I don't know how pictures like this end up on the internet sometimes. Mm-hmm. I see stuff all the time. I'm like, I have that picture in like a trunk in my office. How did that get on the internet?
Right. But, and we just, you see, people respond to that, and they say,
yeah, they do. And I did my first shot was 16, mm-hmm. and did the Teenage Mr. Texas, and I won actually. Mm-hmm. My goal for that show was not get last place.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to beat somebody, and I actually won it. So which surprised me, but you
hadn't been lifting for very long at that point, right?
Nah, not very long at all. Less than a year probably.
I mean, because let's be perfectly clear, that picture when you're 17, you're pretty freaking jacked for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, I did my first show and I was 154 pounds, and then I think that Lila Brada. I went from 154 my first show, and then I think my next show was that Lila Brada show, and I was 180, mm-hmm. and I was 17. So then I went on to later that year I turned 18, and then went on won the teenage nationals.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Cutler won
the
heavies.
So you were hooked at that point.
Yeah. So did I won the Texas state championships when I was 19, and then didn't compete for a few years. Went to school, worked 3 jobs. And
still just lifting your ass off all the time, though, or?
Man, you know what? I actually got into powerlifting. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the time going to school and working 3 jobs. And I drove a delivery truck in the morning. I had to be at the dock at like 5 a.m. And to do my route. And then I had a few clients I personal trained. Mm-hmm. And then the weekends I worked at Dorman at a club. And so I had no life.
Right.
And so I actually got into powerlifting because there was no way I could. The bodybuilding regiment,
sure,
training, cardio, the diet, there's no way. And keep my grades up and, work at all my jobs. So I got into powerlifting, started powerlifting, and did some meets. And it turned out to be a blessing because during that time period, that's when I really got thick. And I put on a lot of dense muscle from lifting heavy weights.
So what led you back to bodybuilding then?
It was still my first love. It's just, you have to have your priorities in life straight.
Sure.
Getting education is a priority.
Yeah.
And I want to be pro. That was always in my
just still back in there.
That's still there, but you gotta, like I said, you gotta get your priorities right. And it's like if you're trying to be pro anything, there's only a very few people that actually get to be pro, and then of those pros, how many of them actually make it to the top?
Right.
Look at football players; they all make good money, but there's only the superstars that make the really big money. You know what I'm saying?
So who was the first bodybuilder that really made an imprint on you, where you're like, all right, this showed me what a bodybuilder is, because you were this for a lot of people. I see this online where they say, I met this guy, or I saw a post or a branch in 2002, and it said, this is what bodybuilding is.
The second bodybuilder I ever saw in my life was Ronnie Coleman.
Oh, really? Well, that's a good place to start.
When I walked into Metroflex, now Ronnie wasn't pro then. He was a police officer, and but he was still jacked, by far the most jacked human being I'd ever seen.
So this was in person.
I walked into Metroflex when I was 17, and the guy who got me started bodybuilding was Ronnie's workout partner. And so when I told him I wanted to do a bodybuilding contest, he said, I'm going to take you to a real gym. And I'm like, where are we at right now? And he's like, this ain't a real gym. This is a health club. And so
you're basically 24-hour fitness or something like that?
Yeah, basically. And we pulled up to Metroflex, and I could hear the music in the parking lot because the garage doors were open. And it's just, cranking. and there were some chicks in bikinis squatting in the parking lot, and there was
It's like a music video.
all these big jack dudes walking around, and I remember thinking to myself, I just made it to the promised land.
Right. Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
I'm like, this is home. And fast forward 26, 27 years, and I'm still there.
So did you just sign on the dotted line, like make me a member on that day?
No, it's a pretty cool story how it all went down. So I was 17, you know, it was just me and my mom. And I started working when I was 14, actually. And I've always had to help out. I helped out with bills and stuff. And, you know, me and my mom were struggling. And went to this gym, and I wanted to get ready for competition, actually the Lita Brada competition. And so I met Brian, who trained Ronnie and Mark and owns Metroflex. And I told him, I said, hey, man, I want to do this competition. This is at the beginning of the summer. And I said, I can't afford a membership. I said, but I'll work for you. I'll clean the gym up, pick the weights up, you know, whatever, if I can just train here for the summer. And he said, let me look at you. So he took me in the gym. I hit a few shots. And he said, I'll tell you what, kid. He said, you represent the gym and you win, you don't got to buy membership.
I like it.
He said, if you don't win, you're going to work it off. 26 years later, I still haven't bought a membership.
Wow. So having worked out wherever you were working out before, how different was it? I mean, not just in like, you know, oh yeah, it's
Totally
Metroflex.
different. Totally different.
The training, what did it feel like different?
It was just a whole nother level. I mean, you're training with, you know, I got to train who went on with the trainer of the man and the man who went on to become the greatest bodybuilder of all time. And his workout partner, Mark, actually back then trained harder than Ronnie did. And he was stronger than Ronnie back then.
And Ronnie's one of the strongest.
Yeah, and Ronnie eventually went on and surpassed everything, you know, Mark could have done. But at the time, I mean, these dudes were animals, you know, and I'm just like a kid. And they let me work out with them because I just did what I was told. I gave 100%. Of course, they didn't care how much weight I lifted. All they cared about was how much intensity, how much work, if you gave 100%, you know. And so I gave everything I had every set. And so I think they respected that. And so they let me, you know, I paid attention, listened, and I didn't ask questions. I learned early on, you don't ask questions.
Right.
If they say do 20, you don't ask why. You shut the fuck up and do 20.
20.
So, you know, that's how you, if I could tell anybody, if you start asking questions or questioning what was going on, you got kicked out. So, you know, I wasn't stupid. I'm like, it works for them, so I'm gonna do what they do.
But you were just 17 at that point too. It's easy to say like, all right, I'm gonna try to lift the weights the big boys lift too.
No, they ain't gonna let you. You act stupid, and you know you get you know, I probably did slap me in the head or something. So you know, if you're doing 12 reps, you do a weight you can do 12 reps with. But you better make sure you're giving 100% to get that 12 reps. You know, not coasting. So I just busted my butt and went and won. And so that was you know, at that gym back then, you know, it was they used to give out team trophies. So back home, Metroflex would win every team trophy every time, every contest. And you know, so there was a lot of, from the very beginning, you know, the whole focus was win. You know, if you're going to get ready for this show, give 100% and win.
Was that, with your first couple of preps there, were they a whole other level from anything you had imagined as well?
Yeah,
or was it they had a science?
I played football, you know, 2-a-days, all that was hard. But, you know, training with these guys in the summertime in Metroflex, getting ready for competitions, it was a whole nother level. I remember, because I still played football. And
on the side while you were doing it?
On the side, yeah. I would train for competitions in the summer. I would compete, and then I would play football in the fall.
That's a good approach.
And then I'd go back to bodybuilding in the spring and in the summer again. And yeah, so after going through that kind of training, when I got the 2-a-days, man, it was nothing.
Right.
So.
Do you feel like, you know, as you've gotten older, is the way that you prepare for a serious event just variation on the same way you always did it then?
Yeah, it's just a variation. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's just, I think the only difference is there's more at stake.
Right.
You know, if you're getting ready for the Olympia, it's the Olympia, you know, and you got the contracts and the money and all the pressure and all that stuff on you. So it's just more pressure.
Sure.
Other than that, it's the same thing.
Yeah, because we've heard from a lot of people, like, they say, oh my God, the first couple that I did everything wrong. It's amazing that I survived them. But you were strong from the start, huh?
Yeah, I was blessed. I was blessed to be surrounded by the kind of guys, you know, I was surrounded with, and you know, they gave me the foundation of training, the diet, nutrition, supplements, all that.
They showed you how to eat too.
Yeah, all that. And, so from the time I was probably 18 on, I did my own diet, did my own nutrition and all that stuff. But those guys gave me the foundation. You know, Brian and Mark and these guys showed me the basics, and then I listened to my body. I read everything I could read, and educated myself. And
Yeah, because this isn't the internet age here, right?
no,
So how did you educate yourself?
I
Aside from just paying attention.
I would
right?
read Flex, Muscle Fitness, MD, cover to cover every month when it come in, and then I'll talk to guys, and any kind of literature I could get to read about nutrition. I'd read nutrition books. I study your metabolism, all these things, and how your body breaks down and uses carbohydrates and proteins and things like that. So then you just have to be in tune with your body.
Right.
I'll try something different and see how I looked, how I reacted, how my strength, responded, and just kind of figure it out.
Yeah, we had Evan Centopani on here last year, and he was telling us, like, as a professional bodybuilder, I'm a professional eater first and foremost, and that means like quantity, right? You got to eat a lot, but it's also serious.
You're actually more of a nutritionist than you are anything else. 70% of what I do is nutrition, and if you don't have your nutrition right, you will never ever look the way you want to look.
Right.
You can't grow if you don't have proper nutrition, and you're surely not going to get in shape if you don't have proper nutrition. And so you really have to be in tune with that.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that's well known about you, but I was reading a little bit more online about how much like game meat is pretty central to your protein as well.
Well,
right?
I think there's a big like Whole Foods and these type of things are very these type of stores are very becoming very popular because they don't use hormones and preservatives and things like that. Well, show me a protein source that's more natural than game, an elk or a deer or a buffalo or something like that. That's the best source of protein you can get. There's no preservatives, no hormones, no nothing. So, plus I love to hunt.
Sure. Has it been something that's been part of your life from
day one?
Way back?
Yeah, I grew up in West Texas in the country, and the only two things I do out there was drink beer and hunt. So, the two best looking girls in my school were my cousins. So, so there wasn't much to do, man.
And it's cardio, right?
Yeah. So,
okay. So as long as you've been a bodybuilder, you've been somebody who's been eating game meat as well.
Yeah, I grew up.
Right?
I grew up in the country, man. I grew up in West Texas on a cattle ranch. Our closest neighbor was probably 8 miles away.
8 miles.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were way out there, and so hunting and fishing was just something. My dad taught me at an early age, and I think when I was 5 years old, my dad started taking me with him, and just to tag along and start teaching me.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, I think I've edited, probably a dozen articles about how healthy game meat is, but for you, as somebody who's been eating it your whole life and using it to be fuel for your training, how different is it? Do you feel like do you feel a difference in your
I
healthy?
do actually. I think it makes you stronger. To tell you the truth, I think when I eat game, which I do pretty much on a daily basis, a combination of buffalo, elk, or deer, or something like that. I think I'm stronger because my wife laughs at me. And she's like, he thinks it makes him stronger.
Like a superhero or something?
So, but maybe that's just my imagination, but it's definitely healthier.
Right.
I think the science behind it will back that up.
And it's pretty straightforward, too. I mean, most of the game meat I eat is ground, right? It makes it a little easier for prep, too, I imagine.
That's what I do. I would grind all mine up. Buffalo, the elk, the deer, I'll grind it up, and I would add nothing to it, just straight. And it makes it much easier. If you need 8 ounces or 10 ounces, it's much easier to get exactly what you need and prepare it.
So what about like bear and stuff? You ever go out and get a bear and eat that? Or
yeah, I've eaten black bear.
I only did one time. It tasted pretty funky, man.
It's rough, man.
Yeah.
I hunted a bear one time in New Mexico, and we hauled him out and I processed him and ate him, and we ate him, but it was
it's an adventure.
Yeah, we kind of left him alone after that. So
now, I mean, one other great thing about hunting though is it's like it's a great activity, and it's a great way to just like add in something extra to your strength training. We had a woman on a few weeks ago who said she's a construction worker on the side, and she said all I do is the same Ronnie Coleman routine over and over again, but the construction work just gives me this like extra magic something because you got to carry stuff, you got to walk, you got to work hard. Do you feel like hunting actually and being outdoors?
Hunting is very physical. You go on an elk hunt, a backcountry elk hunt, and you get a big bull might weigh 1,000 pounds. And so the only way you get him out is you got to cut him up and haul him out on your back. And if you take a 150-pound, 200-pound piece of elk strapped to your back and you're walking at altitude through the mountains trying to get out, it'll kick your butt.
Yeah,
you're probably going to have to make several trips to get him out. So
that's what keeps me from going out there. I help my friend butcher it, but I'm like, man, hauling that carcass, that's like a 3-day process sometimes,
And then, of course, back home in Texas, we hunt wild boars, and we hunt them with dogs, and so you got to run to keep up with the dogs, and that's very physical.
Sure.
So you can end up going several miles in a night through through the countryside.
Right, and they can be a little bit more dangerous than an elk too, I imagine.
Agreed. And then same thing, you get one, you got to haul him out. So.
Right. Huh. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing. I imagine that like the guys you go hunting with, did they say like, Branch has these 30-inch quads, let's make him haul it out, or is it?
Man, everybody kind of shares the burden, man, because if they didn't help me, I wouldn't help them.
Right.
So everybody pitches in, man. The guys I hunt with are pretty much the same guys I've been hunting with forever, and so a good group of guys, man. And,
yeah, and that's another great thing about it. It's just it's a good ritual built in too.
Yeah,
for sure.
We have a lot of fun.
So now let's talk about longevity a little bit. Like as a bodybuilder in your 40s who's been doing this for 25 years, how do you feel?
I feel really good. Like I was saying earlier, after my workout, I still train hard. I don't train as heavy as I used to, and I prayed on the intensity scale back a little bit from what it was.
Sure.
All those years I trained the way I did was for one reason. I wanted to win.
Right.
I wanted to be the best in the world. Not competing anymore.
You feel like you're done competing? Because you still look like it's on your mind physically. When I see you on Instagram, I'm like, this guy looks like he still thinks like a competitor.
I don't want to say I'm retired yet, but I'm just not competing. I'll leave that door cracked.
Sure.
But right now I've got a lot of good things. In the past 2 years since I haven't competed, had a lot of things come my way, good opportunities, and I'm having fun. I got some challenges.
Sure, including a daughter.
Yes.
Does that change that equation?
That changes
too?
everything. The moment she was born, everything changed for me for the better. As a bodybuilder, especially a world-class bodybuilder, but you're going to become a very self-centered, selfish person,
right.
Even if that's not who you are. Naturally, because if you're training for the Arnold, the Mr. Olympia, any pro contest for that matter, it's all about you. It's about your training. It's about your eating all your food. It's about you doing cardio. It's about you posing practice. It's about you
right.
all day long, because to win, you have to be. Because if you're not giving everything you got and giving 100% to every facet of that preparation, somebody will beat you.
Sure.
Every time. And so even if you're not that type of person, you become that person, in the quest to win and be the best. And so I think that's why you see a lot of guys, a lot of marriages and relationships that don't last, because
sure, gym widows.
Yes, and my wife, she was a top pro too, so she understood that, and she was always would put me first. And so now that I'm not competing, well, I would say that when my daughter was born, it all changed. For the first time, I put someone else first, and I always thought about someone else before anything I did.
Sure.
And so that's a good thing.
Yeah. How old is she now?
She's 5. She'll be
Okay.
6. She'll be 6 in 3 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. I have a 5-year-old who will be 6 in 3 weeks as well. And it's funny because now that he's 4 or 5, right around in there, they start to notice a lot more like, okay, this is how my family acts versus other families, right? Like
Yes.
my son, he's a pretty active guy now, and he loves he gets the fitness thing in like as play, but they pay a lot more attention all of a sudden, right?
No, she came home the other day, and she's like, "You're famous, huh, Daddy?"
It hit her, huh?
Yeah, I started laughing. I go, "Why do you say that?" She goes, "Well, some of the kids I go to school with said they knew who you were, and they were showing me pictures or something." And I started laughing. So.
Has she been to Metroflex?
Yes.
Are kids allowed there? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a dirty place, man.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know, man. There's some bugs in there almost as big as she is. So
sure, yeah.
I won't let her run around. I know there's some rats in there that big. So
yeah. Now, and we've talked about this with guys like Jay Cutler and Evan Centopani as well. But like there's also a point where it's like, all right, the eating starts to wear on you as well. Like those guys, they start to think about like, how big do I want to be at some point? How big?
The eating is the be all end all in bodybuilding. It's I think that's why there's a lot of guys out there that have Mr. Olympia caliber physiques, and they never get there because of the eating. I mean, I used to joke. I'm like, I'm always miserable because off season, you eat so much because you're trying to grow and make progress. That's when you actually make the progress and make gains, is in the off season. And I'd be up till 1 a.m. Sometimes trying to finish my food, and you take a bite, you chew it up, and you get some water and swallow it, and then you get the next bite, and I just cuss my food, and but I was so driven and motivated, I didn't care. I'd do whatever I would get mad at my food and just sit there and like I was training or something.
You'd hate eating.
Yeah, I'd hate it, and I'd eat it anyway just because I wasn't gonna let it beat me almost.
No, we call those forced bites around here. Yeah.
And then then you start preparing for competition. Now it's the other extreme. You're always hungry.
Right.
Even though you're eating 6-7 meals a day, you're starving all the time. So now I'm getting up at 3-4 in the morning to go do cardio so I can eat breakfast because I can't sleep because I'm laying in bed starving. And so it was just a constant cycle, one extreme to the other. And yeah, I got to where I hated food, because it was just always you either force feeding yourself or you're hungry all the time because you're getting ready for competition. And so, yeah, it was after a competition, I'd usually try to take a few weeks and just eat
a little bit more normal.
Yeah, if I wanted to eat, I'd eat. If I didn't, I didn't. And same thing with the gym, I would just stay away from the gym. If I wanted to go, I would go. If I didn't, I didn't. And just for the middle, just give myself mentally a break.
Sure. And now that you're like mostly not thinking about competition anymore, do you find that the eating, you can just kind of eat how you want and it's programmed into you at this point? Or are you still pretty
I
serious
naturally
about
will
that
just
part
pick
of it?
healthy stuff. Naturally, I'll eat the game or the chicken and the rice and potatoes and
So
egg
just
whites.
quality as
quality
opposed to
food.
the quantity.
And I eat as much or as little as I want. I probably average 4 meals a day as opposed to 6 or 7.
4 is a good number.
Yeah.
People can do that.
And, it keeps, I still can stay big. I still can train hard and look decent. And so right now I'm good. If I decided I want to get back on the stage, I'm not that far off.
Right. And do you feel like this is a good spot where you could see yourself hanging out for 5 to 10 years, kind of in that?
I do. This is where I'm at now. Be easily maintained, and I'm not killing myself trying to eat 7 meals a day. And,
right.
So
not
I'm
crushing yourself.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned that you just maybe know how to dial back the throttle, obviously a little bit by now. You've had few serious injuries over the years, and I'm sure plenty of not as serious ones that just So yeah, how do you find that sweet spot as you get older?
Go by feel. Man, I don't push it to the level that I used to when I'm in the gym. I surely don't go as heavy.
Right.
Those days of squatting at super heavy weight and deadlifting and benching and all that, I don't. Why? There's no point. I could justify it back in the day when I'm trying to, getting ready for the big show or something.
Right.
Now, I got nothing to prove.
Sure.
It was fun, but my joints are all pretty healthy,
which is saying something.
Yeah, and I live a pretty active life. I like to get out and hunt and be in the outdoors and do the things I do. So my goal right now when I'm in the gym is don't get hurt.
Sure, that's a good goal, and I think you point to something important there. Just like it's so easy to look at the gym and say, there's my activity, but we have more and more experts coming to us saying the stuff that you do outside of the gym is so much more important. Those two together, go just walking and carrying stuff around and parking as far away as possible, going hunting, things like that. That's crucial.
And I've actually incorporated some new training into my schedule.
Ultra marathons like Chris Gethin?
There will be no ultra marathons in France's future ever. But I have mad respect for anybody that can do it. But man, that's why they invented cars and airplanes. But I've incorporated some new kind of training. So one day a week we go out and do some functional training. We're flipping tires, carrying sandbags, doing this kind of pulling sleds.
Is that stuff pretty new to you?
It is. I've been doing it for past couple years. I've done it a little bit in the past, but it kind of interfered with my competition and training. But now I haven't been competing. I've been doing it. So we do that kind of training. Sometimes we incorporate actually shooting with it. So that's my reward because
I like that, the biathlon style. Right?
Exactly. So it's very much like that. So we'll run and do all this stuff, and then when your heart rate's about 160, 170 beats a minute, then you go and you try to shoot and hit something.
Just like right in the Metroflex parking lot?
No. But no, we actually I've got a buddy on the that's a SWAT police officer and a SWAT team member back in Dallas, and so we get to go down to their facility and do it down there. And then I actually have a pretty large farm, and I built a
Okay, so you'll train at home and do some of this as well.
Yeah, so I built my own little range out there, and I've got all that stuff, so we can do it there too.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember I lived in Europe about 10 years ago, and the sports that they watch on TV, there aside from soccer, are like Olympic sports. And I watched a ton of the biathlon then, and it's just an amazing sport, right?
Yeah.
Because they work so damn hard skiing in these incredible circles, and then you sit down and they start shooting, and it's high drama, man. It's
Yes.
for real. It's a really cool sport.
It can be very frustrating too when you first start off, because if you ever never done that and your heart rate is up so high, and then you're trying to shoot this little target that's like the size of this Gatorade top here, it's hard and you
Sure.
get frustrated.
Yeah. So all that sort of strongman style stuff, carrying stuff around, pulling sleds. Was that a rude awakening for you ever, where you're like, oh my God, this is way harder than I anticipated?
Yeah, it was hard. I actually did Tony Cinnamont down in Florida. He real world tactical. We went did one of his courses.
He does crazy shit.
And we've become really good friends over the years, a couple of years. But went down and took his course, and he does a lot of it. And he'd come up and train with me, and then we went down and did his course. And,
So it was like a course that there's just like personal trainers and all these different people, and they show up, and here's Branch Warren taking the course with me.
nah, man, it was we pulled up, and these were like dudes. They were
Okay.
like Marines and SWAT guys and these contractors and people like this. And then here's Branch the bodybuilder. So I'm like, I'm gonna get killed.
Yeah, right.
But it was a lot of fun, man. Had a blast, and I learned a lot, and it was really hard.
It's hard, that style of training. It's cool though. Like it's a different sort of feeling, but it toughens you up in
I
a
think
bunch
it
of
was
different
8
ways.
hours. We had about a 30-minute break in the middle for lunch, and it was hard, man. But it was super intense. But I learned a lot, and so at that point, I was like, you know what? I got so much out of it. I'm like, I'm gonna start training like this
Sure.
on a weekly basis. And
So what do you like to do? Like you said, you like a heavy sandbag or
yeah, we do all kinds of stuff, man. We got a sandbag, we have a sled, weighted sled. We pull or push it. We got some big giant tractor tires. We flip. Got a sledgehammer, we swing. Man, what else we got? We run, bear crawls.
Sure.
All this kind of stuff.
Crawling is no joke.
Yeah, good mornings, burpees, all this kind of stuff, and then just anything. We just change it up all the time, and you just basically anything to kick your ass. And
Sure. Well, and that's one kind of fun thing about it is, you can really mix it up. Like that's there's really no sets or reps. It's you come out.
I
you
like
work.
it because it's something different. It's a new challenge. After doing what I've done for so long, it's just something new, and plus it's outside. I can do it outside, and it's just a new challenge. It's
Sure.
something different.
Yeah, and I find that sort of training makes sense to my 5-year-old too. Like he gets that in a way that the gym, I think he would go in there and be like, "What the hell are these people doing curls? That makes no sense to me at all."
Yeah.
But like, pick something up, carry it. A kid can understand that.
Yeah, get to flip a big tire over and all that. I
Right.
think that's cool.
Okay, that was fun. Right. Yeah. Okay, so what do you want your legacy to be in the sport then? If you're like, okay, maybe you compete, maybe I don't, but looking back, what do you think your legacy is in bodybuilding?
I don't know. I don't know if that's for me to decide. I think that I'll let the people decide that. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is everywhere I go, I hear people, the younger generation, saying how they watch my videos and they, I inspired them to start working out or start training or competing or something. And I didn't really realize that. When you're doing it, you don't. I never really enjoy. I don't think I ever took the time to sit back and enjoy any of my accomplishments that I achieved. Didn't matter what it was.
You were just grinding.
Yeah, I was grinding.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't matter what I won or what I achieved or did. I mean, I would go out that night, probably eat something, and the next morning I'm up and already focused on what's next. And I never took the time to step away from it and say, wow, I actually did that.
Right.
That was a goal I had since I was 17, and I just did it. It wasn't until the past couple of years that I was actually able to look back and be like, wow, I wish I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But at the same point, I don't know if I would have accomplished what I did because I was so focused.
Right.
And no matter what you do, it never was good enough. I never looked in the mirror and was like, wow, I look great.
Right.
I look in the mirror and pick myself apart.
I got to bring this up.
I got to bring this up. This sucks. I got to focus on this. And I was always focused on what had to be done and how to get to the next level and take the next step forward instead of I never took time to sit back and enjoy it.
Right. But now you feel like you can breathe deep and appreciate it a little bit more?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I think I do miss game day. I miss being on stage with the guys and battling it out. That was fun.
Sure.
And I think the challenge of trying to push myself to be better than the previous time, that was fun. But I don't miss the diet.
Sure, right. I mean, yeah, there are all these other competitive avenues out there. Like, there's more strength sports than ever, though. Do you ever look at some of that other stuff and go, like, oh, that might be kind of fun to try, like another powerlifting meet or whatever?
Nah, powerlifting meet I loved it back in the day. Definitely out on that.
Right.
I don't know if my joints would. My joints are great right now.
Right. Leave well enough alone.
Yeah. So I think that ship sailed a long time ago.
Right. Strongman can be kind of the same way. It's like it looks like a lot of fun, but when you start taking it competitively, you're just going injury to injury.
Yeah. Yeah. Strongman would be a lot of fun. But I think maybe 10 years ago, absolutely. But now. It's just
you have to eat enough game meat. That's the thing. If you just eat it, you haven't found the right animal yet.
Maybe if I get big as a buffalo.
Well, Branch Warren, thanks for coming and talking with us. Really appreciate it. Branch is on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at The Branch Warren, right? And you have a website as well with a whole bunch of stuff on it.
Yep, thebranchwarren.com.
Thebranchwarren.com. And as for us, we do have an email address. If you want to send us any suggestions or complaints, it's podcast@bodybuilding.com. Thank you for everybody.